Hi there, this is Stacy Sanderson. Apologize, I'm recording in some weird light here. And nothing wrong with a little daylight, right? We get so used to artificial light. And wanting to come back to the subject of narcissistic family systems. And just to recap, we refer to a family as a system because, much like any other kind of system, there are a variety of different bits and pieces that interact together toward a common goal. And often, of course, in a family, that goal is the development and well-being of the children, particularly, but all members of that family. And so the last recording I did, the last video I posted was about being the scapegoat. It's something I could talk about forever. But for today, I'm going to be talking about what it means to be the golden child. Maybe it's appropriate that I'm in this weird light with these gold earrings as I'm talking about the golden child. I am not one, nor would I want to be. We have a stereotypical idea of the golden child and what that means, and we tend to think it refers to the favorite or favored child or the child who accomplishes a great deal. And those things may be actually part of it, but it's not all of it. In the diagnostic criteria for narcissistic personality disorder, one of the things that is interesting is this idea of that they have fantasies of idealized love. This is not something that's focused on enough, mainly because it's not something that plays out in an obvious way. So who would be the perfect version of idealized love and ego supply? A baby, right? A small child. So the golden child is an identity that of course evolves over time, but I'm going to make an argument that this is someone's soul's contract, if I can use that terminology, but also that this child comes into the world with a very, very idealized meaning to the narcissist. And then the temperament of that child is going to be what is going to continue on that identity path, right? That's what will make them rather continue on that identity path. So basically, if this baby meets the needs of the narcissist, right? If they're a good baby, if they're a pretty baby, if they're the first baby in an extended family, the list goes on and on. They're beginning to be in that evolving identity of the golden child. So, yes, of course, the golden child may be more accomplished. The golden child may be given more resources than the other child or children. There might be a gender component to this that is interwoven and with and dictated by culture. I've heard this quite a bit actually in my work. The golden child is more made than born, however. The golden child experiences more of the narcissist's intermittent reinforcement and in many ways acts as the mirror for the narcissist. So that child is but merely a projected image of the narcissist or a reflection. Sometimes the narcissist will see the traits they like about themselves reflected in that child. This is a child who doesn't question. This is a child who toes the line often. And this is a child who may indeed be very much enmeshed with the narcissist. They do not have an identity of their own. And they may also have very strong codependent traits. They may also have very strong narcissistic traits. But most importantly, these are children who suffer with the most compelling form of Stockholm syndrome, right? They do what they have to do to survive the experience of the narcissistic family. So there is, again, a profound emotional enmeshment. There may also be incest, both emotional and sexual. So that refers to the way that the child is meeting the adult's needs. I get the question a lot, do golden children grow up to be narcissistic? And the answer to that is sometimes. I think they have a heightened vulnerability. And one of the contributing factors to that is behavioral, right? Many golden children get away with way more than the other children do. The narcissist makes excuses for them. The whole family make excuses for them. They are allowed a bit more latitude in terms of the rules. And they tend to be at risk for not developing a conscience. So hard to say that word. And they certainly are at risk for not developing empathy and self-awareness because they have this inflated sense of self-worth. So golden children are not given the very basic human right or opportunity of individuation from their family of origin, and become very much stuck in those family expectations for life sometimes. Golden children may never meet a partner and continue to live with a narcissistic parent, or they may connect with another golden child and marry a partner who's also a golden child. Golden children also can be incredibly entitled. They can also be very underhanded, and it's not at all unusual for golden children to be the ones who inherit an entire family's estate, but they also may be very transactional with the parent or parents, right? Their relationship plays out in a very transactional way. I think golden children also grow up to be manipulative because they never knew how to genuinely ask for and have their needs met, or ask for and receive love, or without asking for it, receive love. They can be very alpha in certain group situations. They can be both covert rather, or grandiose. I don't think it matters particularly, but it can be very difficult for them to tolerate not being the center of attention, not being the best, not winning. You know, they're quite competitive by nature usually, and they are not terribly aware. So all of this plays out in a very unconscious kind of way. It is not a good thing or a strength to be the golden child. And I also just want to say that these terms are not absolute. I don't think that golden children are always golden children. They can fall from grace. There can be a Machiavellian uh, shift around of all of the roles. Golden children tend to be more at risk for identity theft. Like they have a like very porous or a lack of strong, authentic identity. They lack authenticity because it has not had the opportunity to grow. I think golden children may be more at risk for depression, as their ego is very fragile and very extrinsically influenced, as is most of their self-esteem. So there is more of that risk. Anecdotally, I would say that I think golden children don't play nicely with others. I think that they might struggle in group environments. I think they may also require a lot of stroking. So there's some overlaps with narcissism. Although not all narcissists were golden children, not all narcissistic parents have a golden child either, right? It's mythical to think that that's the case. If this is true for you, my heart goes out for you, to you. And if this is something that you're interested in, please get engaged in the conversation, like, comment, share. And the big chunk of my work is in recovery, which means transcending from these roles that you grew up in and finding your uniqueness and authenticity. So, again, thank you for listening, and I wish you well until we meet again.